Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Ulster County Transportation Council August meeting. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. You don't need any introductions today, do you think, Brian, or what? I don't think so.
I think we're fine. Sure.
Okay, so we'll move on to citizens' comment. Any citizens' comment for anyone in the room? No?
No, I'm sparing you this month.
There you go. Any comments for anybody online? Any comments from any of the council members? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3 on the agenda, approval of the May 27th, 2025 technical committee meeting summary. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Pine, I have a motion. Mr. Pine, do I have a second? Anyone online like to second?
I'll second.
And the name?
Majestic. Mary Beth,
Thank you.
Majestic.
Thank you, Mary Beth, much appreciated.
Sure.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you. With the permission, communications and announcements, Brian?
Sure. We have a number of regular end of the federal fiscal year roles that are going to occur to the Transportation Improvement Program. I don't have that list with me. I apologize. It's sitting on my desk at the office, but I've reached out to relevant sponsors of those local projects. They're pretty routine administrative modifications to the Transportation Improvement Program. If you have a project that was scheduled for construction obligation during the current federal fiscal year and you did not meet that schedule, then we will automatically roll you into either the next federal fiscal year or even 27 federal fiscal year if it looks like you're pretty far off from design approvals.
So I recall they were the shoulders and New Paltz got rolled into October
Of 25, which would be
25.
federal fiscal year 26. Yeah,
and sidewalks got rolled in Cohunson. They
the
got
27.
right, and the Shandaken Rail Trail got rolled, and there was a bridge that got rolled as well.
Red Tongor Bridge,
Yeah.
and also the bridge in Ellenville got rolled as well.
So any questions about those?
We also have ongoing communications with New York State Department of Transportation, the Transit Bureau, to discuss a number of pending issues with Ulster County, including our contract with NISDOT to provide commuter service to the Poughkeepsie train station, as well as statewide applications for the Innovative Mobility Grant. That grant announcement was released in September of 2024. And we're awaiting, all statewide applicants are awaiting word on those awards. I believe Ulster County submitted a proposal to provide
Microtransit.
capital for a microtransit pilot program in Ulster County. What was our proposal?
Okay.
And my final announcement is regarding the regular UCTC certification review. Every 3 years, MPOs are required to have a full review of their policies and practices and procedures by the United States Department of Transportation to make sure that we're meeting federal requirements. So that certification review is held in conjunction with our colleagues in Dutchess County and Orange County Transportation Councils. We'll begin that review in September. Our Federal Highway Administration rep, Gadamani, is with us today. Gadam, I don't need to put you on the spot, but we will add you to the agenda for the September Policy Committee meeting where we can discuss the process for reviewing and some of the things we'll be going over.
Gunnar, would you like to say something about the review? We kind of appreciate it if you would sort of enlighten the council about what the review entails.
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Ryan, and Dennis for teeing things up. Yeah, as Brian said, it's actually every 4 years that we have to go through the certification process for areas that for MPOs that represent areas over 200,000 population. Because as Brian said, you share the TMA with Dutchess County and Orange. That's why we have to go through this process. The format for the certification review this time, so the certification review is a combination of us reviewing documents as part of a desk review for all the MPOs, as well as what we call a site visit to have conversations about the MPOs with the MPOs about their work products, including the core products like your long range plan, the TIP, UPWP, as well as items related to other topical areas like freight, like safety. And so this time we're doing the certification review in a sort of hybrid format. We will meet to discuss TMA-wide issues with the MPO staff, and we welcome members as well in Newburgh on September 25th. And then for each of the individual MPOs, we will do a virtual site visit the following week, and Ulster's is currently scheduled for September 29th in the afternoon. So at this point, I'll just encourage all of the members from technical and policy committees to please participate in any portion of the review. And again, this is not just a review of the staff and the work that they do. It is a review of the transportation planning process, and you are the decision-making body for the Ulster County Transportation Council. So, yeah,
We'll send out invitations to the members.
Yeah, there is a survey as well.
Yeah, and a
Yep.
survey.
Yep. So, thanks. Yeah, I think that was all I wanted to cover right now. And I'll leave it to the discretion of the MPO. If you would like to schedule a any sort of individual session with us at FHWA and FTA to discuss the transportation planning process, I'm completely open to that, and I leave it to Brian, Dennis, and Christopher to schedule that if it's needed. So, if there are any questions,
Thanks,
I'm happy to take them. Yep.
Thanks, Gautam. Any questions for Gautam from the council? Hearing none. Thanks again, Gautam. Much appreciated. And we'll send out, there is a survey out there. We'll send out invitations to the council members for those 2 meetings. You can certainly attend the one as a hybrid meeting. You can attend on Zoom if you so choose. Moving on to the new business in the agenda. With the permission, I'm going to alter the agenda somewhat and start with item B. Item B is the draft UCTC resolution 2025-13. It's an amendment to the 2023-2027 UCTC Transportation Improvement Program to add a new NISDOT PIN numbers 8LC231. So Brian, discussion, please.
Certainly, this was submitted to me from New York State DOT. It's for the rehabilitation or reconstruction of a variety of culverts throughout Ulster County, as shown in the description on page 2 under attachment 1. Anytime we need to add a new project to the TIP, it requires technical committee review and approval, 15-day public notice and comment period, and then final policy committee review and approval before it can be added to the TIP. This is an amendment to the 2023 through 27 TIP, which is in effect through to the end of September. Beginning October 1, we'll begin the new TIP, which is the 2026 to 2030 TIP. The reason why we added this to the current TIP at the very last several months that it is effective is to assist with the New York State DOT in expediting the project and getting the design underway. With that, I'll leave it to New York State DOT representatives if you have anything else to add. Allie?
Hearing none. Any questions from the council?
I assume these are large culverts? I don't know.
I would have to refer specific questions to New York State DOT. Ally, are you
Yeah,
available?
I was trying, hey, Brian, sorry, I was trying to pull up so I could see. I believe they are large culverts, yes.
Anything else, Ed?
No, that was it.
Any questions from anyone online? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the resolution as submitted so we can go to public comment?
I'll make a
Mr. Pine,
motion.
I have a motion from Mr. Pine. Do I have a second from someone online?
I'll second Dennis.
Thank you, Mary Beth. I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, so carried. Thank you very much. Back to item A, it's the draft UCTC resolution 2025-12 to adopt the Ulster County Transportation Council's year 2025 long-range transportation plan, otherwise known as Mobility 2050. We have a short presentation, if you'll bear with us. Brian?
Should you, sure, I'll kick things off. You go to the next slide. Chris. Hi, Sandra, how are you? Welcome. It's all right. So great, thank you, Chris. This morning, we're really pleased to begin the presentation of the latest update to the UCTC Long Range Transportation Plan, Mobility 2050, as Dennis mentioned. We don't need to do welcome and introductions, and I have a relatively short presentation that we'll go through relatively quickly and give a pretty detailed overview of the document and then open the floor to any question and answer that attendees might have. I want to note that we have been doing public outreach throughout the course of the summer. Beginning in early August, we unveiled the long range transportation plan to the public and announced it through a distribution to the full UCTC mailing list of over 800 people. We scheduled 2 public meetings and held them in Kingston and Ellenville earlier this month, where we presented the document and provide this presentation to folks in person and online. So this is our 3rd run at it, and we'll get right into it. Just so everyone is aware, I like to put this information up front on how people can access the document and how they can provide comments on the document. The plan is available on 2 websites, the UCTC website, as well as the Ulster County Participate Ulster website, which shows the entire project lineage from beginning to end and explains all the steps through project completion. We are opening public comments through September 5th. UCTC operating procedures actually have no public comment time period requirement, not like the TIP or other resolutions, but we like to keep it open for the period we've had is 4 weeks, a period of 4 weeks that the public can provide comment. All those comments will be included in the appendix of the final document, along with a response sheet from UCTC staff, how the comment is or is not addressed, or if it's already relevant to an issue that's already included in the document. We'll point that out. Important dates are today, the 26th, for the UCTC Technical Committee. This document requires approval from the Technical Committee, and then it will be forwarded to the Policy Committee for final approval, and at which point it will be forwarded to USDOT. Policy Committee, of course, meets on the 4th Tuesday of September on the 23rd. And then there is the email link. If you're not on the email distribution list, that is how folks can join it. And I would encourage our representatives on the Tech and Policy Committee, if you have members of the public who are interested in these topics, please encourage them to join the UCTC mailing list. So what is the UCTC? I think everyone's pretty familiar with us by now, but of course, we're the Metropolitan Planning Organization. that is responsible for developing the long-range plan, the transportation improvement program, and the unified planning work program. Well, we like to say in the document, while we don't own any roads, bridges, or trails, or buses, we are responsible for distributing and administering the federal aid that keeps those facilities operational. And that's the role that the MPO plays. And of course, the policy committee is the decision-making body of the MPO, which consists of the highest elected officials from across Ulster County. And we are a member of the Mid-Hudson Valley Transportation Management Area, which is a larger census designated population area. And because that TMA area stretches into the southeastern portion of Ulster County, we participate in joint planning activities addressing issues of transit, freight, and other mobility issues that have cross-jurisdictional relevance. Just so everyone's aware, we're obviously not at this alone. There are 14 metropolitan planning organizations in New York State shown on the map to the left. And then the TMA Transportation Management Area is shown on the right. That's the Mid-Hudson Valley Transportation Management Area. So what is a long-range plan? It's obviously a federally required document. The UCTC is required to update this document every 5 years. The purpose is to develop a strategy and capital improvement program to guide the effective investment of public funds in the transportation system. Obviously, we're dealing with very limited dollars, and so it's important that we have a plan to guide how those funds will be spent and prioritized. We're required to have a 20-year planning horizon. However, the MPOs in the Mid-Hudson Valley TMA have all jointly agreed to have a 25-year planning horizon so that we're all working toward the same horizon year, in which case this iteration is 2050. All of our work, our planning products, our discrete planning projects that we do in communities, and the projects that are identified in the Transportation Improvement Program must conform and be in accordance with the long-range transportation plan. The current plan is available online. It's something we're very proud of. The year 2045 long-range transportation plan can be accessed and is effective till the end of September. And we're considering this to be essentially an update to that plan. It's midway through the decade. We have some new data and we're updating facts and figures where we have new data to be implemented into the document. But otherwise, we're very happy with the layout and format of the existing 2045 plan. So we consider this to be an update and not a wholesale recreation of the long-range transportation plan. Mobility 2050 was developed with consultant assistance. It was about a year ago when David Stoss announced his resignation. We usually like to write the bulk of this document in-house, but due to being short-staffed for a period of time, we thought it was really important to have consultant assistance to get us across the finish line. And we are very pleased to be working with FHI Studio, now called IMEG, to assist us with our public engagement process for the long-range transportation plan. And then later in 2024, we hired Transpo Group to assist us with the technical elements of the document, of preparing the document. And some of you may recall that Transpo Group did assist us in the development of the Coordinated Human Services Transportation Plan. One other component of the contract, which isn't really highlighted too much during today's presentation, is our consultants are required to provide a full wholesale update to the website, the UCTC website, which will include an interactive online long-range transportation plan online document. So a lot of the material that is in the print document will always be available. But if someone wants to quickly and easily review the document, that will be made available to them electronically through an interactive series of pages. And this current document also, while the content is draft complete as a first draft, we will also be doing a fair amount of graphic design in addition after the document is approved by the policy committee to make sure that it's fully accessible and available, and then we'll transition to that online version as well. So there are a few tasks yet to remain after the document is approved. Sorry, could you go back? So the long-range transportation plan helps establish a community vision for how transportation dollars are going to be invested. The process for doing that is looking at needs of the transportation system, reviewing various types of alternatives and constraints, and then beginning to identify priorities. Go ahead, Chris. Some considerations for the long-range transportation plan. It is a 25-year plan. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball. After we get out beyond 5 years, the picture starts to become fairly hazy. So that's why we update it every 5 years, so that we can begin to identify new trends and make adjustments as necessary. This is a fiscally constrained document, and there's a detailed financial plan under Chapter 8 of the documents, which shows a projection of available funds. So we cannot just identify anything under the sun. We have to have some level of fiscal constraint in terms of the projects that we include in the plan. And we always like to use the acronym SMART: specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. The other phrase I like to use is you can't manage what you can't measure. So we consider this to be the goals in this document to be as specific as possible and measurable so that we can measure progress over time. Public engagement is the cornerstone of the long-range transportation planning process. And because of that, we devote a significant amount of effort toward the public engagement process. The results of public input are included right up front in Chapter 2 of the document, and they blend almost seamlessly into the plan of projects. The needs that the public identify are clearly identified and woven into the plan of projects. In order to gather public input, we had a series of events and tools that we used throughout 2025. We had a survey open for several months. We received 250 individual responses, but over 314 individual comments specific to, they were geo-reference comments, pins on the map, identifying specific locations, issues of concern, and areas for improvement in the transportation system. We hosted focus group meetings and tabling events with IMEG throughout the county. And as I also mentioned, we also had 2 public meetings earlier this month to present the draft plan. You may have seen a picture of me recently in the Sean Gum Journal that publicized that event in Ellenville. So what we heard, as I mentioned, the summary of public engagement is included right up front. It's about a 5 or 6 page summary of all the major themes that we heard summarized through the survey and through our tabling events. Some of the major themes that came through: safety clearly was a universal issue of concern. Traffic calming, reducing speeds of traffic, particularly in neighborhoods, was a common theme. Expanding transit service frequency and coverage area, which comes as no surprise as we are currently in the midst of a route optimization plan for the UCAP bus system. And affordable access to employment and connections outside of Ulster County as well, were some of the major general themes brought up. But all of the topics are summarized in Chapter 2 that were raised. We also had what I thought was an interesting tool in the electronic online survey. We asked respondents if they had $100 to spend or to invest in the transportation system, how and what specific facilities would they choose to invest in. And we split that from a federal highway side and the federal transit side. So among the federal highway priorities that were identified, expanded shoulders on rural roads seem to be a major area of interest and investment. Just making sure we have good quality road surfaces for driving, sidewalk repairs, and improvements to active transportation facilities were among the top 4 most frequently commented areas for needed investment in the federal highway side. On the federal transit side, those areas were increased bus service area and service frequency, regional bus service connections outside of Ulster County, particularly in the rural areas in western and southern Ulster County, where some of those Ulster County residents might receive services just on the other side of Ulster County. And then bus shelter amenities, things like notification boards when buses will arrive, climate control, and seating, shelter from the elements, things of that nature. And bus shelters in general at a lot of the stops. There's another comment. So when we go about developing this document, which is currently a 240-page document, likely to be larger by the time we're done once we get everyone's public comments in, we need to look at what drives transportation demand, which includes employment. We also look at travel patterns on our roadways and on our trail system. We look at our communities and our neighborhoods and how we have tried to prioritize growth within those existing built areas. And we also look at population trends. The graph shown here shows all the wide variety of population projections that have been developed by various agencies, including New York Metropolitan Transportation Council, NIMTEC, the MPO for the New York City region, as well as Cornell and our own Ulster County Planning Department. And as you can see, they vary significantly. So it's difficult to determine really where the population is headed, but we'd like to show that there are a variety of factors that are going to influence our population over time. And obviously, this document looks at all modes of travel. We're not just interested in transit, but we're looking at how people travel to work. Do they travel by automobile? Are they using ride shares? Are they using bicycles or maybe a micromobility device like a scooter or an e-bike? Are they using the bus system? Are they using UCAT or trailways for regional connections and trying to get to the MTA, Metro North? Or are they just prefer to walk to their destinations? And how do they prefer to walk? Are they using sidewalks, trails? Do they feel safe walking or riding their bike to their destination? All modes of travel are considered. So we try to measure trends over time to get a sense of where we're going. One of the more significant changes that we saw since the previous update, we look at one of the benchmark measures that we use is commute to work. It's a measure that's used developed by the United States Census every 5 years through their survey tools. In 2018 iteration, 77% of Ulster County residents indicated that they drive by themselves alone to work. In 2023, the most recent data available, we found that that number changed drastically. Fewer people were driving alone to work, largely because more people are now able to work from home. That was a 7% decrease between 2018 and 2023, which is a change that we've never seen. That's a pretty significant decline in the amount of commuting due to the work from home trend. We look at commutation patterns and the variety of tools and data sources that are available. Some of what the illustrations here show are workflow into and out of Ulster County. You'll note that a significant population commutes to the New York metropolitan area on a daily basis. Over 10,000 workers are commuting from Ulster County to the metro region. And over 13,000 are commuting from Ulster County into Dutchess County. So these are significant trends that are considerations for the transportation system. Obviously, aging infrastructure is a major concern throughout New York State. We're an older state. We're an innovator. Our transportation system was built up and developed before many other parts of the country, and as such, it requires a lot of maintenance. Part of what we do is measure the current condition of our roads and our bridges, and that data is included in great detail in the document. Safety is a major component of this iteration of the long-range transportation plan. We're very proud to be able to draw from probably the best array of data that we've ever had at our fingertips. Much of that is from the CLEAR system, which is an acronym for the data that includes all of the crash data for New York State over beyond a 20-year period that now Chris and I have access to and can draw from and do trend analysis. What the table here shows are all crashes throughout the entire network, including pedestrian and bicycle and automotive crashes in Ulster County over a period of time going back to 2014. You'll note that there was a significant spike in crashes during the pandemic, and it appears that among all crashes, there appears to be a plateau in that when you look at the 5-year trend, which is the dotted line on the right. We can look at safety by crash type, and you'll see the major outlier here is roadway departure. We're a rural county. We have many roads with vertical and horizontal curvature that are not well lit at night, and because of that, it should be of no surprise that roadway departure is the leading crash type in Ulster County for serious injuries and fatalities. And we can look at various emphasis areas for crash types. Age-related crashes here appear to be the most common type, followed by crashes at intersections. So we can use this data to begin to identify the trends, and then that will lead us to identifying countermeasures that can begin to address those trends and reduce the crash rates on our roads. We have a number of highlights throughout the long-range transportation plan that show specific discrete planning projects that we've done over the years and the results of those projects. One that we really like to highlight is the Broadway Streetscape project. We began that planning project in 2013, completed the planning phase of it in 2015, if memory serves. And then the city of Kingston was able to implement the majority of those recommendations on a segment of Broadway. What the graph here shows are crash trends on Broadway going back to 2014, all through the end of 2024. And we like the way that trend line is going. So this is showing crashes for fatal and serious injury, property damage, and all crashes combined, the downward trend. And hopefully that trend will continue on Broadway. There were several countermeasures that were used. These were FHWA approved countermeasures, primarily included the lane reduction and the road diet, which I think has had an effect of slowing traffic speeds on Broadway, which has probably contributed to the crash reduction. This figure specifically shows all pedestrian crashes over time in Ulster County. Note that the trend is not heading in the downward direction, that we are still seeing a high number of fatalities and serious injuries among pedestrians in Ulster County. This is through 2023. What we're hoping is that 2023 illustrates a peak of those crashes. Again, a nationwide and statewide trend that occurred during the COVID pandemic, but one that we have not yet seen the level of decline that we would like to. And this slide is the same trend for bicyclist serious injury and fatalities across the county. In this document, while it is considered to be an update of the existing plan, we have a number of new sections that we've included to really expand upon some areas of interest that have a lot of relevance in Ulster County, one of which is active transportation. So there is a lot of new information and data associated with active transportation in the Mobility 2050 plan. This iteration has a number of recommendations, including filling the final gaps in our regional trail network, improving amenities at key nodes and parking areas of the trail network, including kiosks for wayfinding and comfort stations and things of that nature. Expanding connectivity from the regional trail network to neighboring communities where they may have an on-road connection that doesn't necessarily have a safe bike or pedestrian connection. That is a high priority. Addressing micromobility throughout Ulster County municipalities. Those are e-scooters and e-bikes and things of that nature. Complete streets and sidewalks is another high priority within existing community centers, continuing to improve the facilities that exist by modernizing and repairing and maintaining sidewalks and improving intersections with other complete streets types of facilities. Then, of course, safety for all users. One of the primary recommendations that comes out of Mobility 2050 is an update to the 2008 non-motorized transportation plan, which was a very successful document resulting in the implementation of a number of important bike ped projects. We feel that document has essentially outlived its useful life, and it's time for an update in the next 5 years for a new active transportation plan for Ulster County. We look at freight movements, which draws largely from the work of the Mid-Hudson Valley Transportation Management Area. We have a very interesting freight almanac that we developed that inventories a lot of details about commodity movements in and out and through the Mid-Hudson Valley TMA. And public transit, of course, is a significant component of the long-range transportation plan. And this chart is taken from the route optimization plan, which shows ridership over time on the UCAT system. And there are a variety of recommendations to improve service throughout Ulster County and the region, utilizing the UCAT bus system, including modernization of facilities. Travel and congestion details are provided. If you could go to the next slide. What the previous table shows is VMT. That's a core foundational measure of traffic volumes that we use. VMT is vehicle miles traveled, and it's aggregated by New York State DOT for all roads over time. What that previous table showed is a slight but steady decline in VMT in Ulster County, which can seem counterintuitive because I think many of us in our experiences as we travel throughout the county do experience moments where we feel there's an increase in congestion in certain areas, or maybe during certain times of the year. So with this iteration, we drew some new data sources to begin to have new measurements of congestion. One of those data sources is called Replica, and it uses the National Performance Measure data set. I think I butchered that acronym, but it's essentially cell phone data, metadata that shows where people are in real time. So we can pull history in any period of time within the past 5 years and see exactly, have a snapshot of what travel congestion looked like on our roadways. What this measure shows is that on Route 299 westbound in the town of New Paltz and Gardner, the congestion doesn't follow the typical AM PM peaks, and that we do see significant congestion on our roadways during the weekends. And that's primarily due, in this instance, to tourism. And we also measured changes in travel due to the work from home trend, which seemed to indicate that when we control for that group, traditional commuters versus people who work from home, we found that people who work from home distribute their trips throughout the day, and actually are traveling more, which may, in some instances, contribute to a greater volume of traffic on our roadways during the daytime as well. We're also looking at different modes of travel, including battery electric vehicles. And so this shows registrations for Ulster County motor vehicles over time. And you can see the huge rate of growth in a short period of time for battery electric and hybrid vehicles, hybrid electric vehicles registered in Ulster County. But that's still, that big rate of growth still only represents less than 2% of all registered vehicles in Ulster County. We also show our new charging stations, including the first national electric vehicle station in New York State, which was opened in Kingston several years ago. Transportation resiliency has a major component in this iteration as well, which draws data from our resiliency, our vulnerability study that we completed several years ago, where we identified flooding and excessive heat as the major threats to our transportation system. And then finally, and nearly in conclusion, the document is arranged by 4 primary goals. The first of which is system preservation, aiming to preserve the system that we have and maintain the system that we have. The next is safety, to continue investments that continually improve the safety of all users on our roadways. Resiliency, making sure that our transportation system, the investments protect the system to protect it from repetitive losses resulting from hazards and natural disasters. And then mobility for all users, providing an efficient and reliable travel by all modes. The way I like to think about mobility is people should be able to choose their mode of travel and be able to get to where they want to go. And we also include performance measures so that we can measure progress over time in this document, and that's section 7. Includes several new and continuing performance measures. So we measure road and bridge condition over time, trail and sidewalk network, transit fleet useful life benchmarks, fatal and serious crashes, and journey to work metrics are included in chapter 7 as performance measures. And the financial plan. This is an illustration that I take a lot of pleasure in developing during these iterations. It's a Sankey diagram that shows how transportation dollars are invested over time in the transportation system. You'll note on the left of the diagram, it shows federal aid, which are distributed into 2 primary sources, to the federal highway system or to the transit system. And then we have state and local aid as well, and how those funding sources are distributed to specific investment targets. We are required to develop the financial plan. The process that we use is we take actual allocations as of federal fiscal year 2024 across all areas of investment, and then we project that out 25 years. We do not make any increases for inflation in our projection. So it's a very conservative and constrained financial projection for dollars available to meet the needs of the system. And based largely because of the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act and significant increases to our rural bridge system through the STBG off-system bridge program, we believe that we have the funding sufficient to meet the needs of the system based on the parameters that we used in our financial plan. Then the final component of the long-range transportation plan is the plan of projects. We break these projects out into 3 different buckets. There are near-term projects. Near-term projects are those included in the existing transportation improvement program. Those projects have federal and local dollars and state dollars allocated to them. The projects have contracts signed with local sponsors, And there's a high probability that these projects will be completed within the next 5 years. Those are our near-term projects. We then have midterm projects, which we would expect to be completed within the next 5 to 10 years. Those are projects that also are included on the Transportation Improvement Program, but they have not yet been initiated by the sponsor. And then we have long-range projects. Those are projects that are more illustrative or aspirational. They're projects that maybe have been identified in a planning project, in a discrete neighborhood project or corridor study. There are needs that have been identified by the public through the public engagement process. And there are needs that we feel are legitimate and deserve greater attention by the NPO and will be examined in greater detail over the course of the next 5 years so that we can then develop more feasible approaches, whether they can be included as part of a transportation improvement program or other discretionary grant. They'll be examined further. And then we also like to highlight through the Transportation Improvement Program, a lot of the successes that have been accomplished in the past 5 years since the last LRTP was updated. These are some of the projects that have been built out and completed just in the past 5 years. Broadway Streetscape, the Henry Streetscape, the massive investment by New York State DOT on our historic Word Street Bridge, the Ulster County Midtown Linear Park, the O&W D&H Rail Trail connecting Kingston and Hurley. Our NEVI charger in the city of Kingston was the first in New York State and the second in the United States to be opened and brought online. The Empire State Trail, the H.W. Du Bois Bike Lane in New Paltz, continued improvements and investment in our UCAT bus system, including rolling stock and facilities are being invested in it in the design for new transit facilities. Traffic signals, at least 7 local bridges. Ed, I apologize if I got that number a little short. I think there's probably more than 7 across Ulster County municipalities that have been accomplished in the past 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
And several others. So there's a lot of accomplishments that we can be proud of. The long range plan sets the path forward for identifying those needs and bringing these plans into real concrete brick and mortar projects. So again, we are leaving this document open to public comment through September the 5th. The technical committee has been made aware of the development of the document for some time. If you have specific comments, please submit them to us by the 5th, and we will be able to respond directly. And if there are needs for revisions, we can make minor revisions to the document as well. And then the next important benchmark for the document is September 23rd, the UCTC policy committee. That's my presentation.
Thank you, Brian. And take a breath and.
Yeah, outstanding.
Outstanding. Very good.
It really was very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so with that, I'm going to take a little break and ask if there's anyone has any questions or any comments that would like to make. Hearing none. Do I hear none?
Nothing online either.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the resolution so that we can move it out to public comment.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Pine, do I have a second? Someone online like the second?
I won't let you down, Dennis. I'll second.
Thank Mary Beth, much appreciated. So I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Okay. Hearing none. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you. So Brian, I want to give you a little rest. And I'm going to turn to Chris to talk to us about other old business, item number 6 on the agenda, Ulster County traffic counts.
Sure. I just provide a quick update on where our traffic counts are right now. I've created 90 counts, 90 count locations. So sent them over to our consultant to take a look at. These ones are focusing mostly on the eastern portion of the county towards the river. I looked at things that were like collectors and, similar road classes that had in 2023 and 2024 using NISDOT's data, roughly average speeds above the actual posted speed limits, and decided to count those, send those over to the consultant. This was part of my goal, to create some sort of replicable process where we could figure out which counts we're going to do each year. So in this case, places where people might be speeding, to get a handle on where those were. And that we haven't personally, as the county, counted in, the past couple of years. So some of these locations haven't been counted since like 2018, 2019. Those have been sent to the consultant. They're evaluating them right now. The goal is to have those counted and set up in, I believe, the second week of September, or the third week of September.
What
That's where
kind
we
of
stand
counts,
right now.
what kind of counts, what method are you using? Because I know that for the state, we're going much more into, I think they're like camera rather than tubes.
Yes.
That's
Good.
correct.
You know, the only thing I would not necessarily caution you on, but to think about is folks aren't used to that.
Yeah,
So they're used
There
to
are
the tube.
questions when you put all your out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can learn a little bit from, our experience.
Yeah.
Maybe just somehow get the word out.
Yeah, we've already had this conversation internally in this.
Yeah, let us know what you decide to do, because if
Yeah.
it goes well, maybe we can try to replicate whatever you're using.
So we always notify the municipality.
Right.
I think our mailing list process has been to notify the highest elected official and the highway department as well. We'll have to double check that. So at the very least,
Yeah.
if calls go into the town, they'll have some prior notice that they're being put out.
We had a brief conversation with the comms team at the county to see whether or not we could get the press interested in a little article. What are those cameras doing in your neighborhood? That kind of stuff.
If you get anything picked up on that,
Yeah.
again, just, we don't have to be involved, but I'd love to follow it and see what you're doing.
Because as soon as you put your cameras out, I must have got 5 or 6 calls.
Yeah,
The city of Kingston went crazy.
yeah, and it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was extremely overwhelming, right, regionally, but there were areas in other counties too.
Yeah.
I think Dutchess.
And rightfully so. I mean,
Yeah.
people see cameras go up, they don't know what they're doing either there, and it's something that they haven't seen before, so.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that update.
Yeah, no, consultants using cameras, and they also have, their logo and like a phone number, email address, or what have you on the counter, as far as what they told us to, figure out where they are, what they are, so.
And it's much less disruptive to accounts and quite frankly, it's not safer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was, we're really glad to see that technology come into use.
Yeah.
Other project updates, I'll just give one and then, we're still working towards, the long range, I'm sorry, not the long range transportation plan, the route optimization plan. We're still working on that route optimization plan. We should have results of that coming out, or at least the initial, public comments at the end of this month or early.
End of September. Yeah, just to provide an update there, we're really close to coming up with the final major component of the route optimization plan. And it has been delayed. The primary reason why we're behind schedule is because for each new proposed route that we've developed, we wanted to field test that route and drive it during peak hours so we can develop accurate schedules. We first develop an estimated schedule of what we think can be accomplished, but then you really need to test it on Ulster County roads where you are up against traffic and trains and other types of non-recurrent delays that you might see. That has taken time, primarily because UCAT is short-staffed. So you have to take a bus and a driver out of service in order to spend several hours a day doing that field testing. That has taken us longer than expected. So it's the primary reason for the delay, but we're very close to completion. And we expect the full vetting and scenarios to be delivered to us internally within the next couple weeks. And after we have a chance to review them, we'll be really pleased to release them to the public and schedule a series of workshops or public meetings to present them and discuss them.
How does that work with implementation?
We are anticipating a 3-year implementation horizon. So while we'll have draft plans for new routes, not planning on just imposing them overnight on the
Thank you.
public. And there's gonna be also recommendations for communication strategy so that the public riders are well aware of how and when those changes are going to occur. The scenario that we're proposing includes a 20% increase in revenue hours for the system. And we feel we have the budget in order to accomplish that. But today, we don't have the drivers to accomplish
And
that.
depending
Do you
upon
have
what,
the
al-
buses?
that's what I'm saying,
Right.
depending on what alternatives to use, we also run short of actual vehicles as well.
So would it be almost like, you're saying 3 years, which would mean that each year of the 3 years, there'd be some level of implementation?
We think that's the case. We haven't seen all the routes yet come out, but we think that that would be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you would like target certain areas, or you just have to see what?
Well, I think the short answer is yes, the activity centers would be probably the ones that we'd want to target. The inner communities bus routes are fairly well established, but I think there's longer lead times. So depending upon, if we try to shorten headways, we actually have to have more buses. And that's a real challenge to get buses in that kind of time frame.
But it's important that the public understand that every place where all the destinations that you can reach by UCAT presently, you'll be able to reach.
I think that's an important piece.
Yeah.
And then the other important piece is that 3-year piece. I'm just saying, you know what I mean, for just
Oh, yeah.
setting the expectations.
Yeah.
Like really quickly, because that, yeah.
And we're waiting for NISDOT to tell us, we did apply for an innovative mobility grant.
Nice.
And we haven't heard, it was out last June, I believe.
The grant opened in September of 24.
Yeah, so it's been a year, so we're.
And
waiting to
we
see.
just received a response from our partners at central office, so we'll be discussing it. Apparently, it's delayed, but it is moving forward.
Yeah.
We don't know if we received an
Like
award.
just announcement
Yeah,
of
yeah,
this
this-
selection.
correct.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens on there. The other thing, any questions on that? From the council members on the route optimization plan?
Yeah, that's our only, the long range plan will be wrapping up again with the online components. So we still have some contractual obligations there. The route optimization plan contract is active through the end of this calendar year. If there are follow-on activities that are needed, we can consider an extension if needed.
And the next project we're going to tackle is the Albany Avenue Route 9W study coming out of Kingston into the town of Ulster. That's in the UPWP, so that's the next project that we'll be tackling at that level.
Chris and I are working on that scope of work right now. So we would like to, probably in September, meet with the town of Ulster, city of Kingston, and New York State DOT, because you have maintenance jurisdiction over the entire corridor, I believe.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe it's all state road coming out of there.
right,
It's all state road.
so it's essentially from the roundabout out to 9W.
Right, and see, we just did the roundabout, we
Right.
just studied 9W,
Right,
so now you're gonna take
Do
a
that
look
piece in
at the
between.
piece.
and that piece in between.
In between,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Good,
So,
that's all 4 lanes. There's 4 lanes, 2 lanes.
I know,
It's not a lot of right away width in there.
yeah,
And land use is a little bit,
mixed,
it's really mixed in there.
yeah.
A lot of driveway.
Residential,
Yeah, a lot of driveway interactions in there.
Yeah.
as well. So, and looking at that from a speed perspective, what can we do? Traffic calming, is there any opportunity to shrink lanes? Yeah. So,
Boulevard.
Yeah.
Planted median.
I love to hear these
Yeah.
suggestions from New York State DOT. That's great. So
it'd be really great.
and I really want to have a heavy focus on alternatives analysis. And with a lot of community engagement, because there's a variety of different directions that we can go in with this segment of road.
Because are the volumes super high? I mean, I don't get out that way very often.
They're around 20,000, I believe, in certain
16 to
segments.
17,000.
Okay.
Yeah,
Up there, yeah. Okay.
so,
And that's the only major study that we have coming up that we're looking at.
otherwise, we do have another pending grant proposal for
Safe
a safe streets for all federal aid grant. If that is not awarded this iteration, we're prepared to do our own update with our own PL funds. That would be a systemic crash analysis countywide, an update to the 2020 analysis that we did.
And then, given the long range transportation plan, we move into the non-motorized transportation plan and do an active transportation plan.
Yeah.
To move
Right.
into that next.
That sounds good, especially with the statistics that you were just showing.
So with that, is there any other business before the council? Any last public comments or council member comments?
And I'd just like to remind everyone, we will be sending out a questionnaire from the USDOT to our members regarding your interaction with the UCTC. So please be on the lookout for that. And I really encourage all of our members to please respond and provide their feedback.
So from a management standpoint, I'd just like to commend Brian and the staff and our consultants for the work on the long range transportation plan. It's just been really smooth, if not a bit not a bit harried, but it was been really, really smooth in terms of that. And Brian put an awful lot of effort in that, as did Chris coming on board and our consultants. So congratulations to
Yeah.
you folks for that plan, for that work.
Thank you.
Very nice.
And then last but not least, the Ulster County Transportation Traffic Safety Board, will schedule to meet on September 8th. And what time is that, Brian?
That's a 6 p.m. meeting held in the Ulster County Legislative Chambers, 1 Kamal.
No other business before the council. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Ed. Much appreciated. Thank you, Mary Beth. We appreciate your second on that motion, and we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's always the easiest one to get by.
Yeah, exactly.